In the year 28 BBY, 4 years after the events of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Padme Amidala nears the end of her time as Naboo's elected queen. The queen, her handmaidens, and her security forces spend time in Naboo's Lake Country as they await election results. Padme and her head of security, Captain Quarsh Panaka's relationship had recently been strained due to their opposing opinions over an ion pulse being installed for planetary defense. Captain Panaka preferred a more aggressive approach to Naboo's defenses, and this disagreement was one of the many reasons he had decided to retire from the Royal Naboo Security Forces. Supreme Chancellor Sheev Palpatine, home to vote in the Naboo election, makes a surprise visit to speak with Amidala. The handmaidens rush to prepare Padme. During their meeting, Palpatine asks Padme what she might do following her reign as queen. Padme expresses she wasn't exactly sure which path she would follow next, but she knew she wished to return to the planet Tatooine to find a way to combat the injustice and slavery she had witnessed there. Upon Palpatine's departure, one of the Queen's handmaidens, Rabe, a skilled lip and body language reader, had told Padme the Chancellor seemed very concerned about something. Padme went on to discuss the meeting and her desires to return to Tatooine with her most trusted handmaiden, Sabe, who had served as her double throughout the Battle of Naboo. Not long after, election results arrived, and Sergeant Tonra delivers them to the Queen and her staff. Sashay, another of the Queen's handmaidens, had won a seat in the Legislative Assembly. As well, former Queen of Naboo, Raylata, had won her attempt to regain the throne. While Padme was thrilled for Sashay, she had hoped that another candidate, Jamelia, would be her successor. The handmaidens celebrate Sashay's victory and discuss their future plans. Yane would be off to care for children orphaned in the Battle of Naboo. Rabe would attend a music academy. And Irte had managed to arrange a move to Otogunda to study Gungan technology and pursue art. A week later, the coronation of the new queen is held, transferring power from Amidala to Raylata. At a meeting after the ceremony, Padme was informed the current senator of Naboo, who had taken the place for Sheev Palpatine's move to Supreme Chancellor, was stepping down. Raylata surprised the former queen with a nomination to fill the seat in the Galactic Senate. Padme asked for some time to think over the decision, but ultimately knew this was a path she had to follow. As a senator, she knew she could make a difference, not just within her home planet's government, but within the Republic as a whole. Sabe, knowing how important this new opportunity would be to Padme, offered to travel to Tatooine in Padme's place, carrying out her original mission in hopes of freeing slaves. The plan was discussed with Padme's newly appointed head of security, Captain Mariak Panaka, her former head of security, Quarsh Panaka's wife. Panaka's nephew, Gregor Typho, would accompany them to protect the new senator, and Sergeant Tonra, now a captain, would go with Sabe on her mission to Tatooine. With the other handmaidens setting off for new paths, it suggested that Padme finds new ones to serve as her aides during her time as senator. Rabe suggests Corden, an original handmaid candidate who would serve as a double for the queen. Typho suggested his classmate, Dora, who had been trained in the same manner as the handmaidens, and Mariek suggesting her niece, Versat, a talented slicer. Like their predecessors, the three new handmaidens would change their names to Corday, Dorme, and Verse, respectively. Padme and her associates soon arrived to Coruscant to begin a mandatory 6-week Senate orientation. While the orientation gave her time to adjust and become acquainted with her new handmaidens, she despised the Senate's slow nature. Towards the end of the orientation, a private tour of the Senate building's lower levels were scheduled for Padme. This caused the group to act cautiously, as no other aspect of the orientation had been this private or esoteric. Padme uses this as an opportunity to test Corday's abilities to double as the senator. Their tour guide, Droid Nan 3, guides Corday and Padme to an unusual section of the building, Senator Bail Organa of Alderaan intercepted the group and informed them this area was scheduled for demolition. The droid was sent off for repairs as Padme and her team discussed who might have tampered with the droid to lead her to her death, and why Senator Organa had conveniently been in the lower levels of the Senate building. The group has little doubt the Trade Federation might have been behind the attempt on her life. The next day, Holo News and political journalists began to chip away at her reputation. Her misadventures the day before showed a naive young woman incapable of her seat on the Senate. Many begin to wonder if she's too loyal to Naboo to have the objectivity needed for her new position. This preconception is hard to change after having incited the incident to replace the Supreme Chancellor a few years prior, in favor of Naboo's needs. Padme attends her first Senate session, listening to rapidly changing arguments and discussions and then voting on each matter. She finds this system difficult and very inefficient to actually resolve any political issues. After the session, Padme runs into another new young senator, Rush Clovis of Scipio. Clovis tells Padme of a gathering of senators held by Chancellor Palpatine. Padme attends the gathering, and Palpatine introduces her to Senator Mina Bonteri. Padme expresses her displeasure with the Senate's operation, and Bonteri begins to give the new senator some advice. "I will tell you a secret. You can do all the reading you want, believe in all the truths you think the galaxy has to offer, but the real work of the Senate is done at parties like these." She goes on to explain the way many factions work in the Senate. When a senator moves towards one political issue, so does the rest of the faction. While Padme adjusts to life as a senator, Sabe and Tanra have been spending time attempting to get close to the crime syndicates involved with slavery, as well as individuals involved with the slave liberation movement. Both sides don't seem to trust them, leaving slave sellers to be the only ones willing to talk to them. They're able to purchase 25 slaves from Tatooine and bring them to the planet Carlinus, a prosperous world where they could be free. Sabe is still unhappy with this outcome. Saving 25 souls is important work, but not enough to truly make a difference, as small numbers of free slaves would continually and easily be replaced. She contacts Padme to inform her of the current situation, as well as another mission Padme had tasked her with: find and free Shmi Skywalker, mother of Anakin Skywalker, a hero of the Battle of Naboo. Sabe was unable to locate Shmi, and suspected that she had actually moved residences. Padme, upset and still determined to find Shmi, put a pause on the mission, needing Sabe's assistance on Coruscant, investigating the negative press being spread about her and if it was tied to the recent attempts on her life. Back on Coruscant, Padme sees the need to join one of the factions Senator Bonteri had informed her of. Padme first reaches out to the Supreme Chancellor, not only because of their close relationship, but because he was in charge of an anti-slavery committee. Palpatine thought this to not be a smart idea for either of the politicians, as they needed to distance themselves to make sure others wouldn't suspect any favoritism by the Chancellor to his homeworld Naboo, especially after Padme's interference getting Palpatine elected in the first place. In an effort to distance herself from the Chancellor, Padme begins to ally herself with Senator Organa. Senator Bonteri begins to question where Padme's loyalties lie, with her homeworld Naboo, or with the central government of the Galactic Republic. Meanwhile, Sabe continues her investigation and meets one of her contacts at Dex's diner. Her contact informs her that the Trade Federation has been funding the negative publicity Padme had been receiving. The contact also informs Sabe that Senator Mon Mothma would be hosting a party that she believed to be a cover for some secret political meetings. Sabe contacts Padme to inform her of this new news. They coordinate a plan to have Sabe double at the event to allow Padme the ability to do some further investigation. At the party, the two switch places, and Padme, disguised as one of her guards, begins her investigation of the senators she had yet to be completely trustworthy of. She is able to find a vantage point to spy on Mon Mothma and Organa, and overhears their concern for Bonteri and Padme's involvement with each other. Nevertheless, they agree to trust Padme and invite her into their inner circle. Padme rushes back to switch places with Sabe before the senators could make contact with her double. Padme reaches Sabe just in time to escort her away from Organa, but not in time enough for her to avoid him catching on to their decoy scheme. A little later, during a conversation with Padme, Organa offers her a place within their inner circle, so long as they always communicate with the real Amidala and not one of her decoys. Padme agrees. Afterwards, Sabe briefs Tanra on the event, and their conversation transitions to a more personal one, striking up a romantic relationship. Some time passes and the media begins to shift their opinions of Padme, largely due to help from Mon Mothma's connections. The Galactic Senate breaks for a period of time. Instead of returning to Naboo right away, Padme travels with Senator Organa to spend a week on Alderaan. Padme strikes up a close relationship with Bael's wife, the current Queen of Alderaan. The two bond on their similar positions in life, wanting a steady family, but feeling the call to serve the public. Padme soon returns home to spend some much-needed time with her family, as well as to inform Queen Raylana of piracy that had been occurring in the Mid-Rim. Upon the Senate's return to Coruscant, an emergency meeting is called, informing the senators of a devastating groundquake that hit the planet Bromlarch. The quake had destroyed an aqueduct system, leaving the planet severely damaged, unable to provide food and water for its citizens. Padme, joined by Senator Bonteri, Senator Clovis, and Jedi Depa Billaba, traveled to the planet to assess the damage and report back to the Senate. Bonteri began working on a proposal she would give to the Senate to provide aid. Padme stopped by her office and overheard an unusual conversation between her and a hollow communication of a stern man Padme could not recognize. "Do as you must, but if you cannot control the situation, I will step in and control it for you." "Yes, my lord." Bonteri gave her proposal in front of the Senate, but it ultimately failed. The Trade Federation stepped in to offer their aid in fixing the aqueduct system, but only in exchange for similar terms to what they had tried to force upon Naboo years earlier. This angered Padme deeply, and her and Senator Clovis worked furiously to draft a new proposal, one that would provide Bromlarch the aid it needed, while also setting up a mid-rim trade route that would be policed and protected by Republic gunships. Because of the piracy issue in the mid-rim, this proposal gained the support of the mid-rim worlds and ultimately passed. Overjoyed with their success, Padme and Clovis met, with Clovis taking the celebration too far, attempting to kiss Padme, to her displeasure. Soon after the establishment of this new mid-rim trade route, Padme boarded a supply ship to oversee her successful proposal. The ship was, however, attacked by pirates. While Padme and her staff made it out alive, they were unsure as to who may have been behind this pirate attack. Padme returns to Coruscant, and despite her many obstacles as a senator, decides to continue on with her work, happy to see herself influence major change with the pass of her recent proposal. Before she could bask too long in her glory, Sabe rushed into the senator's apartment to inform her of some bad news. Newt Gunray was found not guilty. Rumor is, he put a price on your head. In the epilogue of our story, we jump to the year 19 BBY. During Padme's funeral on Naboo, Sabe is distraught. She reconnects with Tonray and explains to him she does not believe that Padme died of natural causes. Someone was behind it, and she wanted to know who. Sabe and Tanra would set off to Coruscant under new identities to uncover this mystery and continue on the work that Padme had hoped to accomplish. Just before they could leave, Bail Organa contacted Sabe as our story comes to a close.